Welcome to the podcast. We have an amazing, legendary guest on the show today, Scott Morse. Thank you for being on the podcast. Appreciate it.
Of course.
We also got the official Arturo Gambini in the house. And we're in for a special treat today. We're going to be going over Scott's story because his story is amazing.
Thank you.
Scott, man, where are we at right now, right? Why are we here? How does a gringo, a blue-eyed American end up where we're at right now?
So exactly where we're at, we're actually in my executive office here on the fourth floor of our 12,000-foot call center here in Pareda, Colombia. And so if somebody would have asked me 3 years ago, where do I see myself in 3 years? I don't think I would have said here at this exact juncture. I just didn't think that it was in the journey ahead of me. And I had a couple of life events that were negative that turned into opportunity events, and then ultimately came down here and started building a little team here in Colombia.
A little team turned into an empire, man, I would say.
Yeah, dude, I think that one of the things I was thinking about for our morning meeting this morning is I'm still in the foundation mode. And so it's like, if somebody started a call center or something and it was a competitive, and even if they leapt past me, I wouldn't be concerned because I'm still building the foundation of the house. My house hasn't even started getting into the first floor yet. So we're still building this monster foundation to bring a huge amount of jobs here to Colombia and to give really, really good kids an opportunity to express themselves, to feel comfortable, to be able to afford a different lifestyle. They had this crazy chain of events happen to where I moved down here.
Yeah, I feel like your impact's so big that you're almost changing the local culture here in a sense, because you're giving, like you said, these kids an opportunity to grow, to expand. You know, you're a leader, you're a role model to them.
Yeah, it's a lot of responsibility being the role model too, man, because I know that they look at me. You know, I think people down here, they're so used to the average gringo coming into town and paying people under the table, kind of doing slick things with payments and no real benefits, no everything. And so literally for the first 6 months, it was just building up trust that I wasn't that guy.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of the coin, you also have the Colombian entrepreneurs who abuse the system as well. And then there's typically like the average good guy. So to be able to come down here and be a gringo, be an outsider, and realize I'm a guest in your country. Like this, I am literally a guest. I need to be a good, responsible guest like anybody at somebody's house, and treated well and understand that I'm here and it's a blessing to be accepted here right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So how long have you been an entrepreneur for? You know, because you've been in a couple different spaces, but you know, how'd you get started?
I was probably the same as all of us, man. Like we started like middle school, high school, right? We're selling candies. We're doing whatever we can. We come from a whatever situation. And I don't know, I don't think I've never not been an entrepreneur, although the products have changed over our lives.
Right.
But I don't think I've ever not seen an opportunity to uplift myself by putting in some level of effort and selling some type of good.
Yeah. Because, you know, there's a lot of companies that try and do this, or they're in the space for a little bit, but what sets you guys apart? Because, you know, for the people watching, you know, we were here in the morning, and it's just a completely different energy than not just even the space you're in, but because being on the phone is so hard, but it's just completely different than any other environment that I've personally been in, and I've been around some great environments, you know. But what sets you guys apart? Like, what do you bring to the table that's unique?
And let me add something real quick. I don't know if you heard me earlier, I compare it to the culture in the military, in the Marines. Every morning, there's a meeting. You know, there's an office meeting, then it breaks down to the shops. The shop itself has a meeting. Why? Because they're working 17, 19-hour days. And they're not on a computer, you know, like we are actually, hey, on the ground, working, running with 30-pound fucking, like in my case, I was a helicopter mechanic, so 30-pound oil box and another 20-pound tool and just running, you know? So you need a strong culture. You need to motivate them, especially, this is not a regular call center. This is real estate, wholesaling, groundwork, and you're being successful at it. So what makes you different? I mean, I already know what makes you different. I already see it. You know, as soon as you come in, you can see it. But what can you tell them? What makes you different than other companies?
You know, For me, it's a multitude. It's like a painting, one of those abstract paintings. There's so many things that go into it. But I think a lot of it actually is the unsexy part, which is the discipline side of it. And so that's why I love your analogy where it reminds you of the military, because there's a lot of entrepreneurs out there. There's a lot of people watching this who have little sales teams or even themselves, or it's just them and their spouse, and they can't even discipline themselves to have a morning meeting. And it's just these small things, discipline and actions. I always say one of my favorite quotes for myself, I came up with a long time ago, but discipline is my vice. That is my thing. That is that trait in my life where people might have a vice of drugs or drinking or whatever. Now, like, discipline is my vice. And so to be able to come here and create a culture which I know that I have to hold myself the most accountable, because everybody is watching me and therefore going to mirror me, and then creating a culture that not only would my kind of Shark Tank mindset appreciate, but also that 16-year-old male kid, and just like, one day I'm gonna have a boss that's this, and dude, I shouldn't have to put up with this, 18 making pizzas and Pizza Hut or whatever, right? Just like, I remember the pains of all these shitty jobs, and I said, one day I'm gonna create an office that is anti all this, and I'm gonna make an opportunity in a workplace where you can be an entrepreneur inside of a company. Most people think they have to be an entrepreneur outside on their own. There's a lot of value to that. But it's because people don't have an opportunity to be an entrepreneur inside. Because if you can make really good commissions and you don't have the exposure of overhead, and you have a great work environment and it feels like home, then you now have a culture where people can come in and be the CEO of themselves. You can be a CEO of yourself inside of my company that I'm on paper the CEO of. That's what I tried to build here.
I mean, that's exactly what we see, back there, the camaraderie, right? Just someone that you can basically team up within. You have teams in here, you see it, and people are pushing each other. So that's, most call centers like, hey, don't take my leads, that's my lead, why are you calling that? Like, you don't see that here, everyone's helping everyone. But going back to those early days, like, what was the first business you started? Like, what got you into business?
So at 20 years old, I didn't go to college. So I'm not anti-college, but I just didn't see the trajectory for me. I applied to one college, which had always been all women's, and like 2 years prior, switched to allow men in, and it was like 80-20%. I was like, yes, now I want to go to college. I was turned.
How old were you?
17.
Okay.
17, 18. But my brother, he had an alarm company, like an ADT type company. And so moved out of the house June 16th, graduated high school June 18th. I was living with him, just moved out of the house on my own, right? And, but like 2 years in, I installed a security system at this business. And so when you install a security system, there's the pad, and I'm standing up there and I'm showing this guy in a really nice suit and tie, and he's decked out, and I'm looking in the car lot, and there's nothing but Mercedes and BMWs and kids my age, and I'm 20, and these guys, dude, I didn't even own a tie, never owned a suit, I saw these kids just looking rich, and I'm programming the guy, I'll never forget it, I'm showing, I finally get done, and at the end I'm like, what do you guys do here? He was like, we sell timeshare. So what's timeshare? He was like, you come back tomorrow if you want to know. Boom, done. I was back in that joint the next day.
What year was that?
I quit. That would have been 2001.
When they were selling like fucking hot pancakes.
Bro, selling like hot pancakes, and no internet really diluted either. Yeah. But that's where I learned. I started selling. Ultimately, I quit my family job and started selling timeshare, and that's what started me on my professional sales career, and that was 22 years ago. But that ruthless level of sales, a certain level trajectory of sales also produces an entrepreneurial spirit as well too. And then from there, I worked with a guy for 10 years who was one of my mentors. And I worked for his company until the point where I cared more about the company than he did. And so I always tell my staff this as well too. The day that you guys care more about this company than I do, and you genuinely believe that, that's your sign that you need to move on, no matter what. Because I put up and I grew, and I was the chief operating officer, and I'm really, really blessed for that opportunity. But I just wanted more for the company than the leader did. And the moment I wanted more, I said, okay, great, now it's time for me to move on. And then ultimately went into my own individual entrepreneurial pursuits. And a couple of companies later, here we are here at Lamasu.
Yeah, I mean, when someone when you don't feel that leadership pushing you, I mean, it's just, you're not growing anymore. So it's like, you got to move on.
You know what's crazy? So like, I did timeshares also
in
Orlando. And timeshare, I don't know, 2001, 2008, when the economy was shit, it was either sink or swim. Either you make your commission or you're not eating. And at the time I had left my house. I'm from Tampa, decided to move away with a girl, and I couldn't find, everybody was unemployed. These people gave me a job. Hey, can you sell? I'm like, yeah, I'm Spanish. Okay, we'll give you the Spanish people. Sell them. My script, a 2-page long script, they only gave me, I remember, like four sentences on the top. And I was selling over the phone too. And I was selling, you know how, okay, you should, at times you go and you show them this is the place, and you pretty much haven't fallen in love with the place. Me, I had to have them fall in love with myself, and through a computer, showing them a little video. And there was 2 people on the lead who were getting, there was 2 people that already owned timeshares.
Yes.
So it was just horrible on top of horrible, and you had to, you had to make money, you had to survive. I remember my job was from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I showed up at 9, left at 10, Monday to Friday. Sometimes coming in on Saturday. And I remember my first sale 3 weeks in, and the owner was like, how are you doing? Sometimes I will sell 2 timeshares to 1 person.
Yeah.
And they're like, how? Like, what is it that you're doing different? But I was speaking in Spanish, they were Italian. And at the time also, I was also going to college. And it wasn't, for me, timeshares, it's a little bit shady.
Super shady.
Super shady. Extremely shady. So morally, I wasn't really there, but I was good at it. I became very good at it.
Yeah.
And, that's how I learned sales.
So one of the things I take away from all the years that I did, I sold timeshare for a couple of years, and then I got into a travel clubs, which is like timeshare adjacent job. But one of the things I remember so vividly is my first few weeks getting sales, and there used to be this thing called ice weeks, doesn't matter. But you would buy a timeshare and you could get like 2 free ice weeks. And I remember the first time my manager came over to the table and he's helping me close this deal. And he's like, well, how about if I do this with 4 ice weeks? And they're like, 4 maybe. And then they say no. And he says, how about unlimited? I remember losing myself on the table, like, oh, unlimited, what? And I'm just freaking out. And I just couldn't believe that it was unlimited. And I was just like, yo, you just made their day. And then they signed up later. I'm talking to the guy, and the manager's like, dude, great job on that table. Great Hollywood. I'll never forget. He said, great Hollywood. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Like, what are you talking about? He was like, you don't know? I was like, everybody gets unlimited. We just tell them to, so we can later give them unlimited if we need to. And I was like, oh shit, it really helped me understand the psychology of sales, because everything anyways, but it was creating value, giving value, making the seller feel indebtedness to you throughout the consultation. There's a lot of really great sales fundamentals that come out of that industry. Today when I hire, particularly in the US, I love people who have sold timeshare, sold solar door to door, anybody who's ever sold like vacuums, anybody who's ever worked at one of those fairs when we're doing the knives or any of those types of like presentations, anybody who's done aggressive telephone sales, like those are all great industries, because the sales people carry across. It's just those people have real sales skills and not necessarily just order takers.
And what is ice weeks? 2 ice weeks, what's that?
It was nothing. It was literally nothing. It was just something they made up. It was like, you could go get 2 free weeks from an exchange company. Gotcha. It was free anyway. It's like you still had to pay a fee to use it. It was just that principle. And then one other small time, what we used to do at this first resort, we would take these customers, we would walk them to the most gorgeous unit. I mean, dual shower heads, and I'm like 19, 20 years old. So like, I'm thinking this is like luxury. We would take it to them, we'd show them this unit, and then we would price check them at like $50,000. With $50,000 in 2000, it's like unheard of. And so then we price check them, they say, no, we can't afford that. And say, well, hey, we have this other unit for this. How about I could do this for 30,000? And I just remember a couple of weeks later asking like, well, does anybody ever buy the first one? They're like, it's not even for sale. It's fake. They literally created a unit that wasn't for sale, completely fake. You couldn't even buy it. Even if you had the 50,000, they would have been like, okay, we'll just sell you 2 of these other ones if you don't mind. It's a better deal. But I learned so much about how to position an offer and how to value, because that's what these guys were doing. They're doing it at scale. We're talking $1 billion industry. The timeshare industry makes more money than NFL and the MLB combined. It's insane. But those sales principles come through, and then ultimately I started a timeshare exit or a timeshare cancellation company. And that's where I really processes that ultimately led to Lamasu was that timeshare exit company, helping people out of those problems.
You switch sides then. You turn to the head side.
That's not being Darth Vader. Sales was Darth Vader.
When you say it's $1 billion industry, it literally is for people to understand. You can sell a timeshare, you can give away the fucking timeshare. And that's the honest truth. You can give it away, yeah. And it's crazy because charities won't even take them, okay? Because you have to, you have that monthly payment. And if you think about it, so by law in the US, you can sell a timeshare 52 times. Why? Because there's 52 weeks, because you're selling a week, okay? So if you sell it at $10,000, that's $500,000, over $500,000, so you start like me, I started at 60, I can literally give it away for 80.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's just fictitious numbers, and especially because that carry on to me, I structure offers for my clients. I got a guy, he sells pretty much how to position yourself as an authority online. He used to sell it for $250. Right now he's selling it for $50,000.
Great.
Same product. How do we position it? Hey, you gotta give people a deal. What do they get with you? Like I told you earlier, you got the 100K, 50K, 30K. 100K, nobody's gonna buy, even if they had the money. They're not gonna buy. The 50 and the 30, it sounds too low. People don't really want the 30, they want the middle. So the middle, you're gonna make it close to the bottom. So people usually go for the 50. Now, $50,000 product, you should have selling for 20 grand. But this guy's literally selling $50,000 product for $50,000. And it's all, what is the guy getting? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the deal? And when you structure that offer and the person knows they're getting a deal, you can't really go wrong. And that transition, from timeshare down to, hey, now selling online products.
One last thing, because I think it helps people in sales. One of my, so many takeaways from that industry, but one of the things we used to always tell people is like, hey, listen, you're gonna get all these freebies for coming out, right? Like you get this free cruise, or you get 2 nights at a hotel. They're always trying to bribe you. You've been at the beach, somebody comes up or in Vegas, somebody offers you tickets to go see a thing. But one of the things we used to tell people is like, hey, listen, because of the value or incentives or the time that we're spending, at the end of this consultation, we feel we've earned the right to ask for your business. And I accept a no just as graciously as I do a yes. But at the end of our time today, I'm going to ask you to move forward with our services if you feel it's a good fit. And just that mentality of telling the person up front, like, hey, we're here, but this is also a business. And I take a no just as graciously as I do a yes, but I feel I've earned the right to make you an offer. And the reason why that matters so much for the wholesaling space, for that's the current vertical that these guys behind us are booking in, is because so many people in this industry have a maybe problem. They're salespeople, but they are closers. There's a big difference between salespeople and closers. And so what I see when I analyze other people's businesses is they have all this big chunk of leads that are like contract out, offer made. They have a no problem. I would rather get a no than a maybe, just so I can move on with my life and go to the next lead. And so just understanding that, like positioning your offer and also telling the people, you're gonna give me an answer, more bluntly, but you're gonna give me an answer at the end of this presentation. Tell me no, that's cool, great. But don't tell me think about it. We're either gonna do business because it's a good fit and you find value, or I'm gonna move on to the next person. And that really helped cultivate the aggression that we use on our sales team today.
And we do the same thing. We set up the stage. That's called setting up the stage, Like, for example, my sales script, pretty much the first 3 to 5 minutes is building rapport.
Yep.
Then it's setting up the stage and then going through, I wouldn't even call it a pitch, it's more of a conversation, kind of like what you have here. You converse about, hey, what are their goals, where they want to go, where they are right now, what is their current monthly revenue, how do they have a plan to move forward to make more money, and then if our services can help them, hey, we move on. If not, hey, we have a lot, you know what I'm saying? It's another number, So it's crazy how it's almost the same thing throughout every industry in itself.
Sales is it's such a vast, so many things you can do, right? To help people, to persuade them, negotiate, win-wins. It's just like, it's never ending, It's something that's every single day you're training, you learn things. Like, I was in your training room, I pick up something, I could pick up anything, pick up something from you, I can pick up something from him. It's like, it's for life. You know, that's a skill that'll take you anywhere. So next question here is, on a personal level, how do you have two daughters? One of them looks Spanish, and the other one looks white.
That's the question to the ex.
Yeah, one of them is blue eyes, blonde. The other one's a little bit darker, you know?
Well, knowing that one day my kids might stumble across this video, I love you both, Mia and Gia. But I can tell you, my Spanish one is like such a sweet, calm, and by the way, same parents, legit. Same parents. Just one of them came out a clone of the mom, and the other one came out a clone of me. And the white one, the younger one, she made me almost racist against white people because she's so aggressive. Like compared to the other one, she's always trying to take and dominate and this. And I'm like, this is what's wrong with white people. This is colonialism in my own damn house right now. So I don't know how God blessed us like that, but I get 6 and 4.
6 and 4, wow.
Yeah. But amazing, but such different, strong personalities. The oldest one is about as sweet as they can get. The youngest one is also sweet, but she is aggressive. Like, I feel sorry for the boys that she dates in the future, for sure. In the far future. But no, they're beautiful kids. And the best part about bringing them down here is people in America think they have culture, kind of ish, right? But culture is like Target and putt-putt, and there's like really materialistic things. And we come down here and it's like, dude, we go horseback riding, and it's so much more family oriented here. I'm very blessed that for no matter how long we stay here collectively as a family, that these foundational years are done in such a beautiful country with such beautiful people. So that way they're instilled in this, even if they go back to the States, the foundations of who they are is Colombian.
They're half Colombian, half American, right?
Yeah.
Born in the U.S.
Born in the U.S. Colombian mom, gringo dad.
Yeah, I saw a picture of it. Like we were talking earlier, and then bro, like I think if you go to school to pick one of them up, you know, the darker one, they're gonna give it to you, you know, not Scott, you know, because she looks Spanish completely. The other one, okay, that's not yours, you know.
Yeah, I know.
No, you got a beautiful daughter. Congratulations. That to me is a blessing, and I think every life that's born is a blessing.
It is, man, and it's tough. I say tough, but to all the dads out there, moms out there, it's like, I have 200 people behind this wall. It is easier, man, hand to God. It is easier managing 200 people than it is 2 kids.
That's the truth.
The expectations I have on myself are so high for both verticals, you know, being a CEO and being the CEO of a house. And it's just tough, man. It really is. It's tough, particularly for me, I think, because I'm a sucker for a woman in tears. And so like yesterday, the girls asked me, can you get me the pink stitch, which is this thing? And I'm sending my executive assistant get the pink stitch. And it's just like, I love them so much. I'd do anything for them, including sacrificing, because we have enough capital to be good. I don't need to have this business. I'm blessed enough for that from previous entrepreneurial pursuits. But I have this never-ending desire and passion to continue to provide for them in exceptional ways beyond even my current vision for them. And so I'm willing to sacrifice some time with them now so they can really, and their kids can really be better off because I existed.
So are you the type of guy that, I mean, like my mentor, Dan Pena, okay, I went to him twice. His philosophy is, I'm not leaving anything for my kids. Okay, he has 2 sons and a daughter. I'm not doing anything for my kids. Every single penny that I have, I'm gonna spend it for me and my wife. How he says, for me and my wife. My kids, I give them knowledge, I give them connection. They can figure it out on their own. Now, 2 of the kids are okay with it. The other one is not okay with it. What are your thoughts on that?
I think if I had boys, I would be more in line with that. But I know that with me having, these are my princesses. And my job as the king is to provide for the kingdom. And so I look forward to them never needing anybody else other than themselves and always having a safety net. Given something, no. Safety nets for sure. I'll never let my little girl struggle. It'd be wildly different, I believe, in my heart of hearts with a boy. And I don't mean that in any type of sexist way. It's just I was born with the desire to provide. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad busted his ass all the time. And I know the life that gave me because mom was able to stay at home. And I just have this overwhelming, innate, uncontrollable desire to protect and provide. So no, they can have whatever I have when I'm gone, for sure.
Nice. Okay, yeah, I think also a man, not necessarily he should struggle, but it shapes the person. You know, I'm sure everything in your life, whatever struggle you went through, it shaped you as, hey, I'm gonna CEO, I'm gonna make a lot of money because I don't want my daughters, my kids to struggle.
100%.
Yeah. So it does shape you as a person. One doesn't.
Yeah, of course. You need to go through that struggle. You need to feel that pain. And sometimes it's hard to be comfortable, to have the money, to have the success, and you still have to manufacture that somehow, because you can get complacent, get comfortable, and
That's when it all crumbles.
Yeah.
But at least I've never been able to be successful enough to take my foot off of the gas pedal to where something didn't start falling apart. Whether it's health, whether it's mental, whether it's fucking relationships, I don't know. And I think also us as fathers, we also have a duty to be the vision of who you want your daughters to date in the future, And so I know that I have a responsibility for them to hold their man to no lower standards than I hold myself.
Yep. So now you have them on hey, these are the standards. Your dad provides, protects, successful, looks good. He's able to make it in a third world country when people are trying to go to a first world country to make it. Those are the standards. And there's just so many limited, so many limited amount of people, of men that actually can provide that role. So I'm sure they're gonna be very selective. Having a dad like you,
I hope so. That's the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah, how do you like living in Colombia? That day to day, because it's one thing to come to vacation, to paradise, and then you're going back, right? But how is that day to day, that culture here, man? And do you plan on staying here a while?
So I'll tell you, when I went to Target, one time I was living here for about a year, and then I went to Target. It's the weirdest example I can tell you how I knew that this was home. I mean, how many times have we been to Target? We've been to Target 1,000 times in the States, right? And I'm walking down this, it's so bright in there and everything's, but I'm walking down this one aisle, I have a cart and I'm pushing this cart, and I walk down and it's nothing but hundreds of Tide detergent bottles all the way down this way, all turned just a perfect little, it's like, whoa, and I was like, oh shit, I'm in the Matrix. Like it just clicked. I was like, there's no reason other than psychological fuckery that there is one aisle dedicated. I'm the only person on the aisle. It's super long. It's just all, and there's hundreds and hundreds of bottles. They could all be in the back. They could be in storage, but and the lighting's perfect. And I was like, oh, I am a fucking cog in the wheel here in the United States versus over here. It's just living, right? Like there's an actual butcher shop and there's a place where there's so many small businesses here in this country because of these great big empires that are not here, the Targets, the Walmarts. So there's a place where you buy spray bottles. There's another place where you buy like toilet seats. And there's another place, it's maybe not the most convenient, but there's just something about the authenticity of living here where it's still community driven, where there's still mom and pop small businesses, where it's like you're buying something because you need it, not because you're being psychologically manipulated into buying it. And for somebody who's in sales, like if I'm a director of a movie, it's hard to enjoy another movie because I'm looking to see where that's how we had the lights. So being in sales, I can see a lot of that sales stuff that happens on every commercial or everything. And in the States, it's like, okay, cool. I'm being used here. I feel like I'm just living a little bit more than I am there.
Yeah, and in the States, a lot, very superficial.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I feel like that exact way you describe it is what I feel when I go back. I feel like you're in the Matrix because you're so programmed. Like even like, let's say I get like a bad feeling because I see the people like so sucked into that Matrix, especially let's say like with the nutrition. Because we're here in Colombia, you don't see that many overweight people, but over there, overweight is normal. Here you don't see
big girls everywhere.
Yeah, big girls, big gals, and the old folks. They just the health. Like they're just struggling with so many things, and it's sad to see.
I never shared this real quick story, but I was in Orlando at the big Galleria Mall, whatever the big fancy mall is in Orlando. I forget the name of it at this stage, and there's a P.F. Chang's out front. I was doing shopping, so I decided to go sit there by myself. And I walk in, place is packed. I mean, hundreds, not a place. You couldn't get a table even if you wanted to. I walk up to the bar. I sit there and there's people all to the left, people to the right, so much noise. And it's the first time in my adult life, I think, that I've ever, I don't know if it's the first time, it's one of the very few times where I actually got anxiety. And I started to get anxiety because here I was in a room full of 300 people and it was like I didn't exist. Nobody on the right side high, nobody on the left side high, nobody at any of the tables looked up and smiled. Not a single person. I could have just disappeared and no one would have missed me there. And I was like, oh shit, like this wouldn't be this way in Colombia. I would have walked into a restaurant, I would have been greeted, somebody would have said hi to me. I would have passed by the people at the table, they would have smiled at me. It would have been an earthy connection. Instead, I was in this, like I said, this machine box, and it really started to mess with me. I was like, oh man, I'm so glad. I'll be thankful to go home and just go to a nice little paisa restaurant or whatever and just enjoy myself and see a friendly face that smiles back.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing about here, you know, about living here in this culture, you know?
Chicharrón.
The chicharrón?
Pork?
I never seen chicharrón before. All of a sudden, yeah, it's pork for
Really?
people who don't know. They don't got that in Virginia.
Yeah, they don't have that. They don't
I
have
always think like there's some Alabama rednecks that need some fucking chicharrón in their life.
Yeah.
They need to know that that thing exists.
It's delicious.
No, my favorite thing here, man, is honest to God, my favorite thing here, and this may sound off, particularly to a Colombian, and please let me follow it through, but it's watching people sweep the sidewalk or the place in front of, or sometimes even the dirt road in front of their business. Yo, the amount of pride that gives me, seeing that person care so much about their front of their business. They're literally sweeping dirt to get the leaves off of it. Or it's this, just like it's the sidewalk, and they're out there sweeping every morning, sweeping. And they're doing it because they love their business. That little hole in the wall type thing that somebody would describe as their store, they're out there sweeping, they love it. Man, it blows my mind because nobody, ain't no GNC, ain't no any of these little stores in the strip mall. No, not a single CEO is out there sweeping in front of the strip mall store. But they are here because that's their everything. And they take so much pride in it.
And I think it's a culture, you know, it's the culture because like I'm from Peru, you know, we just came back from Brazil. And unfortunately, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Peru. And I was telling somebody that, you know, I care about, we're talking on the phone, I'm like, man, why you moved to Colombia? Like, I don't know, the culture is different. And I've been to so many countries, the culture is different. And I'm like, and it's actually clean, you know? And then this person said, well, it's clean because it rains a lot. So I'm like, no, it's not true. People actually here care, you know? The man and the female, you ask somebody for directions, they can be late to work, but they'll sit there, hey, you gotta go here, do you understand? Go down there, you know? So the culture, the Colombian culture is so different, you know, and I've been to the Middle East, I've been to so many countries, Brazil, Peru, you know, it's just so different. And it's not dirty. People will think, hey, third world country is dirty. Colombia is not dirty.
It's not.
Because people take pride on what they have. They're Colombian, they're paisas, like, you know, they take pride on who they are, what they are. You know, and it's very, at least for me, very amazing to see. That's why I moved here. I'm saying I was here twice before in Medellin. Talk on he's like, dude, he's like, yeah, the States is cool, you can make money, there's a lot of opportunity, but if you're working on through a computer virtually, you can make money anywhere. So I'm like, that's true, you know, so I decided to make the move to Medellin, and it's been a life-changing because, just like you said, everything is just different. People do things with pride. Not only sweeping their business, but when they do a job, they want to do it with pride. They keep the streets clean. In my country, they eat something, boom, out the window. You know what I'm saying? It's different.
The construction, it sounds crazy because like this is a developing country, right? This office was built out with such precision, like everything was top quality work done, and it blows my mind because I built out offices in the state and it's constantly going back behind, hey contractor, come here, do this, do this, do this, do this. You're chasing people around, everything's over timeline, everything's over budget. Dude, that elevator was broke. We're on the 4th floor for everybody watching this. The elevator, the building owner refused to cut on for like, I don't know, the first month of build out. Every cubicle in here, every wall, everything that you see was carried up 4 flights of stairs. like the hustle muscle to be able to go through all that and do it happily. And it's just, woo. So anyways, I'm very, very, very appreciative and blessed of where we're at.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, my personal thing, I'll just share mine is like, I like the quality of the food feel. It feels like whole food, like real whole food. I go there, it's like grass-fed, grass-finished. Like, isn't that supposed to be the norm? Like now it's somehow special, you know, to get normal food of how, you know, ancestrally how it was. So it's like, for me, that's been like invaluable, you know what I mean?
It's just fresh, it's the best.
It's.
Okay, I have one question. What is one thing that you struggle with, and how do you overcome it?
I have struggled with or continue to struggle with.
That, let's say both, that you had, I mean, you can say something that you had struggled with, and how did you overcome it? And it's crazy because when I ask this question, and I'll tell you later on what type of responses I got, and you're gonna be like, no, that is fucking crazy. You know, but what is one thing that you can say, damn, like I remember I struggled with this and this is how you overcame?
Yeah, so I don't think I ever stopped struggling to some degree. You know what I mean? It's a constant battle, every single thing. When I say discipline, like the reason why I had to be so disciplined is because I have naturally an addictive personality. And so if I were to do substances or drink, I go too fucking far. And so one of the things I have to be disciplined on in my life is just to not go down that pathway, because everything I do to excess. It's that old quote from Scarface where she says, nothing exceeds like excess. Like I'm well aware of that in my personality standpoint. But I'd say one of the biggest things that I ever struggled with was, I don't know about struggle with, but one of the biggest things I overcame is just growing up as a kid with no college education and trying to do what you can in your high school local community and do those things. You just do bad things. You find things that you can sell and do. And I just remember the day that I mastered sales to the point where I was getting consistent commissions, and I knew that I would never have to sell anything illegal again. Like I remember the day I was driving in my car and finally I was getting enough commission checks. And I remember the day saying, I will never have to go back to doing shady things again, ever. Because when you grow up in Richmond, Virginia, just like any other place, there's always tough areas. And so you just did what you did to make money, right? You want new shoes, you gotta, sell whatever, right? No stealing or anything like that. But I just remember like, hey, these sales skills, you said it earlier, somebody said it earlier in the day, it's about like, this is a discipline or this is an asset that you keep for the rest of your life. So for me, it was just being disciplined enough to realize that this could change my life if I just mastered the sales skills, while also understanding that I have to discipline myself as the human being, because I and others in my family have a tendency to just be over the top with things. So I turned that over the top, I believe, into my entrepreneurial pursuit.
Yeah, I think for an entrepreneur, you have to be obsessed, like whether it's a business or working now or health, you have to become obsessed in order to get results. Like I think people that they just, let's say somebody wants to open a business, they kind of want to do it just to make money. They're going to be out of business soon because it takes a lot. It takes a lot of sweat. And when I say sweat, I'm not talking about physical sweat. I'm talking about you have to be up in the morning. You got to make sure things are working. You got to make sure people are getting paid, because they don't get paid, they're not going to work. So like I have an obsessive personality too. Like right now I just hired, he was Mr. Olympia from Medellin. Why? Because I want to have the best body. I just turned 32 in the Marines, obviously, because I was pushed. Now I'm like, hey, I feel like I let go of myself a little bit. I want to have the best body I ever had. So I have to hire the best guy. And little tricks that he gives that many other trainers don't give makes a huge difference.
And it's always that, it's that continuing education. I think you said when you were sitting in the classroom, it's like, that's the reason why I love coaching. I love, having mentors and mentor groups, even though like I can go into a lot of rooms and be like, okay, I'm doing more business than all these guys in this room, but sometimes there's just that hot bar, that one line, that one sentence, that one twist, that one tweak that really changes it all. I tell a very quick story about Kent Clothier, who I consider to be a personal friend now in this industry, but I belong to his mastermind. I paid $25,000 to belong to that, and I paid it for one sentence. Literally the first day he said one sentence and I said $25,000 back, got it right there and there. And he said, price is only an issue in the absence of value. Because I was trying to wrap my head around this industry. It's like, all right, how am I going to get discounts? And like, okay, I've got to get this. I just remember that sentence, and I was just like, price is only an issue in the absence. That's it. It was just like fucking the Red Sea got parted. And I say that to my closers. All the closers know it. It's like, you can't come to me and say, no, they don't see it. It's not a good deal. Or it's like, oh, you haven't built, the reason why you're having an issue with the price is you haven't built enough value. Yep. So you don't come to me and tell me that you need to offer them more. You get back on there and you give them more value. It's just small things like that, Mr. Olympia. It's just these little tweaks matter so much.
Yeah, it reminds me of when I don't know if you know who Albert Preciado is. He's now a friend of mine. I paid 10 grand, and because I was having issues, you know, like I will hire people, this for hire people, so far. I'm like, dude, like I'm overworking more. I'd rather do it myself. You know, like how did I get out of this cycle? And he said, this is, you know, Patrick Videro was his mentor. Said, this is what I did. I hire on twos. You hire on twos, make them work. You know, keep either the best or keep both. You know, and that helped. It helped me. Less work, and also, you know, my cycle of individuals of hire is, you know, it's longer. So, and I pay 10 grand just to know that, you know, and I'm so thankful, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you learn anywhere you go. I mean, pay for mentorship's one of the easiest shortcuts. I mean, we've all been there, all three of us, you know. I paid 50,000, 30,000, 20,000, you know, every year I try and invest at least, you know, 50,000 plus to be around the right people, you know. When did you decide to start the business here, right? Because you traveled, right? I'm sure you didn't just wake up one day, but like when did that seed start to plant and you started to develop that vision, right? That you've created today, like when did that start?
So the shorter version of it is that I wanted to get into the real estate investment space. I didn't know what wholesaling was or really anything. I had been a capital loan on to what is now my business partner. I'd loaned some money on some projects before, and that was cool. But then once I understood exactly what the REI investment industry meant, and I had always heard as like a kid whose parents only owned one house. My parents have no other income producing assets, nothing. I always heard rich people bought real estate. And even though, like, even as a kid, I remember I bought my last house in Orlando. I had a 2-point-some interest rate, and all I did was make 100K payments to pay it down. And every wealthy person I knew was like, dude, you're stupid. Why? I'm like, I just don't want debt, man. I don't want debt. So like, I knew that I was operating from this scarcity mindset, even though I had money. And I knew that real estate people had this other different vibe. So when I had the opportunity to go into real estate, and then I heard about like wholesale, and I was like, wait a minute, I can go into it without going into it, and I can do this, and I can do this. So the reason what set me offshore is I needed to be able to produce a cost per lead that was effective for this industry. And so it couldn't happen onshore. There's no way that I could figure out how to do a CPL that was attractive enough for this industry onshore. So then I outsourced. I hired a guy in Egypt. That was terrible. Hired some people in the Philippines. It was even worse somehow. Surprisingly, it was even worse. And then I hired a guy in Cali, Colombia. Literally just saw him in a Facebook group talking. I was part of like an expats group or something. And I was like, okay, I reached out to him. Cool, great. Started getting some leads. I love the culture, same time zones more or less. Had great affinity for American culture. Every Colombian watches American movies, listens to 80s music, American 80s music. So it was like, it was good vibes. Unfortunately, he was a guy with just him and a couple of people. He just didn't know how to scale a business. And so just day one, I'm already his biggest client. So I was like, you know what? I'll just move down here and do it myself. All I need is 8 to 10 agents. I'll never hire more than 8 to 10 agents. It's just going to be me. And I came down here and started murdering it with my own team. And then somebody like Arturo reached out. He's like, hey man, dude, you think I could get some of those agents? And I was like, I guess I'll hire a couple more, train them up. And then like you called me up and like, hey, can I get a couple of agents? Before you knew it, I was just like, wait a minute. Everybody's got the same problem. Everybody's getting shitty leads from places like Egypt and the Philippines, and they need quality leads and quality leadership. So it came from a necessary for the rest of the people out there who just wanted to replicate what we had, and now we're about 200 agents.
So it's really fulfilling your own need that you had at the time.
100%. I had no desire to work with anybody else. And I'm super aggressive. And so in the beginning, I was scorching other wholesalers, like, yo, what the fuck, dude? You're not calling your leads. So then I raised my avatar to people who are already successful in the space. So most of my affiliates are already doing at least 2 to 4 or 5 deals funded a month or much higher. But as long as they're not brand new newbies, I'll typically take them on.
Yeah, makes sense. But what's behind the name Lamasu Media? Talk to us about that, because that's an interesting name.
We're growing into the media. We're not even,
Yeah.
we're like phase 1 of 10 to be the media side. But Lamasu, my 2 last companies, one of them, the mascot was an eagle, the other one was a lion. And so I knew this was going to be my last venture. Like, I'm 42, so I'm a decade older than you. Super old. And so I knew it was going to be my last company. So I wanted to combine everything. I wanted to combine lions because, as the team knows, is we're not hyenas, we're not scavengers, we're not laughing out on the Sahara. We're out there. What we eat, we have killed. So we're lions. And then we're eagles because we're not ducks. We're not waiting for handouts. We don't need your breadcrumbs in life. We're high flying. If you see us up there in the sky, you got to be another eagle. And so lions and eagles combined it together. And then I researched when's the first time in human history a lion and eagle ever appeared as a deity or a god. And it goes back to what is Assyria, which is now modern day Iraq. And the Assyrians were the first humans that we're aware of in like 3000 BCE to ever have a lion and an eagle, and it was called a Lamasu. So that's how I brought it in.
Lion and eagle. It's interesting. What do you think about the work ethic, right? Because you're talking about, you guys are lions out here, but what do you think about the work ethic of Colombians? Because I think there's a lot of misnomers, misinformation. You've seen not only both sides, but you've seen multiple parts of the U.S. You have a lot of benchmarks to go on. What would you say about the work ethic here?
So I'm gonna tell you the bad side first, because I think it's fair.
Sure.
The bad side is that in Colombia, let's just say for instance, I pay 40% more than the average call center. In Colombia, just like in high school in the United States, where you could like fake a doctor's note and get a doctor's note and get out of school, you can do the same thing here. It's very, very employee-centric laws. And so in Colombia, you can get sick, go to the doctor, he gives you 3 days off, and you still get 60% of your pay. By law, I'm still required to pay them 60% of their pay when they're sick. And so what you have is the potential, if you pay 40% more than what they're used to, then they can come in, get sick, find a way to stay home. You can't fire anybody while they're out, and they still get the same pay that they need, which is that 60%. So in the beginning, that was an issue until the culture became in place. Now you don't want to miss this place. You never want to be out of here. And there's commission incentives. You can't hit your commissions if you're not here, just because you're not here to put in the work to be able to hit the numbers. And so in the beginning, I really had to bounce my way around understanding this thing where you can be sick and still make 60% of your pay versus in the States. If you're sick, buddy, you don't show up to McDonald's, you're not going to get paid for that work.
Yeah.
That was the small and only hiccup I've had. Other than that, these guys and gals are hungrier than almost every single person watching this video. I mean, when I say hungry, I mean hungry from a passion to produce, to have an opportunity like this, to be out there and to be the breadwinner in their families at 20-some years old. It's a big deal. So the work ethic here is phenomenal. The culture is phenomenal. And I'm blessed to be able to lead these guys, although I consider myself a leader because it's my duty, but not that I'm anything different or better than any one of these kids.
And especially because you pay them more than the 60% of Colombia. 60% of Colombia, I read, I think it's in the 1.4 mil, which is about $320. So you pay them like 40% more, and they have incentive for commission, so they can literally make twice as much.
Yeah, commission checks are nice. Every month when I get to say I just wrote the biggest commission check I've ever wrote, I feel so good. And I'll go up to the guy and give him a big hug, or a gal and give him a big hug and be like, dude, biggest commission check yet, you. It's cool, man.
And they're so appreciative.
They are. Yeah.
For the opportunity. And it's a tough job. Oh, it's a tough fucking job.
But you learn so much, it's like a badge of honor to be in here. It's like,
Yeah.
it really is. That, at least when I did cold calling, that's the way I saw it. I looked at myself in the mirror, I was proud.
It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
Dude, there's nothing in life you can't accomplish with sales skills, negotiation skills, power of persuasion. These are all like fundamentals. And some of these guys, now they turn into beasts where like it's not even fair in their own personal relationships. Like, because now all of a sudden they can do what they need and say what they want and get the responses they want out of their friends just for going out to dinner. Like, once you start learning these sales skills, it really makes you a beast in your own personal life too.
Absolutely. So most people want to go the opposite way, right? Most people, they want to migrate north, right? People in South America, they want to go up north, US. That's the American dream, right? You went the other way.
Yep.
You're an American, you came here, but how have you been able to make it succeed? Because it's been a challenge, I'm sure, with the language and the adapting and the culture, but what would he boil it down to? Because it's not easy. I don't know about you, but if you ever felt homesick or whatnot, but all the different challenges, the emotions, but what does it all boil down to?
I think it's the reward is bigger than the pain. I mean, it sucks. I haven't seen my mom and dad. I'll go up there and I'll get a free weekend, but it's tough. It's tough on the body traveling that far. They're all the way in Virginia. And, of course I miss a lot of my OG friends and stuff. But no matter what the pain is, the reward, and not financial reward, but the reward here is better. This is my jet ski. I tell that to people all the time. Tell it to them too. I said, this ever stops being my jet ski, you guys are screwed. But there's a guy right now in South Beach. He's bouncing around on the ocean right now. He's pulling up to a dock. He just did a bunch of 360s on a jet ski. The high that he has is equal to the high I had this morning when I walked into this office. And so while this is my jet ski, this is I'm being selfish when I say this, but it's a very fun place for me to be. And it's worth the exchange in time from some of my older friends and families to be down here and making this my mission.
The pain, what was that? Say it again.
The reward's greater than any of the pain.
The reward's greater than any of the pain. There's powerful
pain
right there, yeah.
That's right. Do you have a mentorship? I mean, for people watching and they're like, hey man, like I connect with this guy, I love his story. Do you have a mentorship where people can reach out? How can people reach out to you? Or do you allow that? You haven't opened that yet? Or how can people say, hey, I want you as a leader, as a partner? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I think there's two ways. I kind of keep my personal help and mentorship on my personal IG and my corporate business on the business one. So if anybody reaches out to me, it's at Lamassu Leads, LAMASSU Leads on Instagram. That's my corporate account, which is really great because that's more sales skills. And then at Scott Morse, MORSE, for my personal one. I do a lot of coaching on the real estate sales side. On the mentorship, I haven't done that yet, but that's truly my North Star. It's what I love the most. I'm big in Big Brothers, Big Sisters in the States. I still have my brothers there. I believe in giving back. I believe that watching and experiencing somebody else's pain. I remember going to my Lorenzo. We literally were texting last night. He's now 20-some years old. I met him when he was 16. Did I go over to his house, Big Brothers, not wanting to sit with me, not wanting to talk with me in the hood of Fort Lauderdale. And we sit down and he goes outside. His mom makes him go outside. He's sitting on the steps, doesn't want to talk to me. I sit down and I was just like, who's your favorite rapper? And whatever the name, I don't even remember who the name was. It was somebody kind of smaller. I was like, it's crazy because this white dude sitting right beside you has more money than that guy. And cause all in his head, it was just like, oh, this guy is prosperous. And I was like, I don't think he would take time out of his day to pour into you. Let me just tell you, young man, faith, whatever brought us together, and we just formed this beautiful friendship and bond. And so I love mentoring kids. I love mentoring people, helping them out. I haven't put together anything official yet, but it's in the destiny and journey to be able to help people find the best version of themselves through disciplined actions that I've proven myself.
That's good to know.
Yeah, who are your mentors? Who do you look up to? Who has that influenced you?
I hope everybody's still watching, because it's probably the most important thing that I've said. Everybody's heard the adage, you are the equal of your 5 closest friends. Super true. When I heard that, I knew it was true for my soul, but I didn't have 5 friends. I didn't have 5 people around me I wanted to be the average of at all. And so I found those mentors in books. And this was really before YouTube really kicked off. And so if you go to my home library, you're going to see one of the largest collections of self-help books. And so Zig Ziglar, I fell in love with as a kid. He's an old school sales guy, but also positive. John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, all these old school guys. So my mentors were found in pages. I remember seeing Zig Ziglar a couple of months before he passed away, but in person, I saw him a couple of times in person, and I remember crying the last time I saw him because that man changed my life more than any other human being out there. But if I would have been afraid and made myself say, oh, I need a mentor in person, I never would have grown.
Yeah.
I would have said, oh, it's just not for me, man. I'm not surrounded by any winners, but I found the winners through books, and then I took what they said and I put it into action, which is the most important part.
Yeah, that's key. I feel like I can relate to that a lot because when you don't, it feels lonely, when you can't interact with someone right in person. You don't have someone to interact with, but when you realize that's your best bet, like that's your best option, it doesn't matter. Like you can learn from books, from videos, from content, from people you've never met. I mean, it just changes your mindset, you know, and then you stop, you don't have, it's not like you don't have enough time to hang out with all those other people that you used to hang out with, right? Or those bad influences and things like that, because it's true, you are, show me your friends, I'll show you your future, like Nat Pena says. It's true, 100%. What drives you to keep going, man? Because I feel your hunger. Like I'm right next to you. I see you come in. I see your team, man. I feel like it's that hunger. You know, it's like you're like fasting. You know, you haven't had anything to eat. You know, like in the wild, where you gotta go and keep hunting, man. But what keeps you that drive?
I don't know. It's so part of who I am now. It's like you always make a right-hand turn when you leave your neighborhood. I've just been doing it for so long. It's part of who I am. I don't know if I would know how to cut it off anymore. I'm passionate for what I do. I'm passionate to be able to poke holes in theories. And what I mean by that is people hate when I walk into their office to be like, hey, I have this thing. And it's like, it's not to be the adversary, but I love just seeing their thing and okay, well, what about this? Okay, now let's make that. Oh shit, yeah, we didn't think about this. And so I just got a really big passion for what I do on the business side, on helping these kids. Like a kid came to me and showed his wedding band to me 3 days ago. He was like, dude, I got married because of this company. Like I could never have afforded to get married. And that's just like, that's what definitely keeps the fuel going. But I've just been doing it for so long and so happy about being an entrepreneur. I don't even know if it could be cut off. It's innate now.
Yeah, it's in you. Like it's like a muscle. It's in your DNA, man.
And if I don't, I get sad. You know what I mean? Like you take me out of an environment like this for too long, I'm like, oh damn, I want to go home. Put me back in the sales floor. This is something special we got out there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see the future, man, for real estate investors in this space? Because like you said, man, you're just getting started. And real estate's forever. Real estate's eternal.
It is. I think you guys in the United States are politically, you're fucked. I think that it's a nightmare right now what's going on in the States. I think it's an absolute mismanaged shit show. We were just talking earlier about how people with good credit now have to pay more for their interest rate. And you were saying, what was your comparison on that? To developing countries or third world countries?
Oh yeah, no, it's like third world countries. It's like socialist countries. They want the people that are good to quote unquote support the people that are just starting, which in reality, people make, poor choices. So why are you gonna punish the good for those who are making poor choices? And it's crazy because they say it's for the benefit of all, for the benefit of people, and in reality it's for control. Like, hey, we want everybody to be the same, equal. They want equality, but they don't really tell you they want everybody equally poor. So it's crazy to see what I already seen in other countries coming to the U.S. in the name of freedom, in the name of helping others.
Well, and to continue on that, and then to ultimately answer your question too, when I got into the space, hedge funds were big, and just seeing the amount of damage, it's almost like the Walmarts do to all the local supply stores. These hedge funds really did gobble up huge swaths of America. Like I've never seen that much capital. I've never, maybe just haven't been exposed to it, but just watching them gobble up everything. It's very unique. I think for us in the REI world or the wholesaling world, we buy at a discount no matter what. So we're buying at a discount whether the market's here or there. So we're more resilient than other segments of the industry. What I see for Lamasu, what I see for our company is to really change the definition of what a word lead means. Change the definition of the word lead to annihilate the acceptance of a BS underqualified lead being accepted in this industry. But this industry has a lead qualification problem. It has a sales problem. And so our objective is to raise the bar as we are, but continue annihilate the gold standard, the Rolls Royce, if you will, what everybody aspires to work with, and to also consider a qualified lead to help people scale their businesses. Dude, I want to be responsible. I know I'm responsible single-handedly for a significant amount of real estate transactions a month. My leads being fed throughout the nation are changing the economy in the States for sure. But I want to be the reason why more real estate investors scale their business and become multimillionaires faster, as well as scale my own business, continue to give these kids a job. So I'm just going to dominate and disrupt.
Are you also into commercial, or are you only doing single family?
We do some commercial, but only for ourselves right now. Got it. It's a little bit harder. The lead life cycle is significantly longer in commercial, and the database sizes are significantly smaller. And so we have like an aircraft carrier, right? And so an aircraft carrier is really good in like, hey, let's call all the single family homes in Atlanta versus all the self-storage facilities in Georgia. One's a couple hundred or 1,000, the other one's millions of records. And so as big of an operation as we are, we really have to be in bigger pools.
Absolutely. To cap off here, what advice would you give someone that wants to start a business or a call center or get into investing, right? Because you have so much experience throughout your life here in multiple business ventures, but what could you give someone those tips, strategies that can really help them be successful?
You know, it's a really good question, and I think I think it's the people around you has a lot to do with it, making those conscious decisions, the people that you keep around you who are either going to support or negate your vision and dream. And don't be afraid to be outside of the box a little bit, like, you know, writing down your goals, having them on your mirror, being a little loco, you know, crazy about it as well too. And really just understanding that the sacrifice is going to be huge, but if you keep your vision of the reward, the pain won't matter. You're going to go through pain. You're going to get your teeth kicked in. You're going to lose money. You're going to have bad deals. You might have a bad partner. You're going to have a lawsuit. You're going to have all these types of things, but damn it, they don't matter after it's happened. You're just stronger. You're more resilient. But definitely keeping your goals focused. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm a person who believes in manifestation. Genuinely, from the bottom of my heart. You go into my house, in my bathroom mirrors, you're going to see this. In my office, you're going to see all my I am statements. You're going to see all my goals for this year. I read them every single morning. And my bathroom's like, you can't go into my house and not see who I am as a person and my vision and where I'm going, but I keep it in front of myself so that way the daily ups and downs don't get in the way of it. So surround yourself with good people, or get away from all those people, and then keep your visions clearly in front of you and writing at all times.
Absolutely, Arturo, man. Any last comments here to wrap, Bob?
No, what he said about manifestation, I mean, I also worked with Bob Proctor before, you know, he's big into manifestation, and it's crazy because Dan Pena, billionaire. Tony Robbins, billionaire. Grant Cardone, now billionaire. They all do everything that you're doing. They all have their goals, they all look at it, you know, in the morning, they all look at it before going to sleep. You know, and that's what keeps them, because everybody goes through ups and downs. You know, you go through ups and downs, your family, your divorce, your kids, you know, me, my divorce, you know, we all go through ups and downs, but when you have that vision and the vision's clear and it's big and you have it in you, those are little bumps to where you're going. And I think many people don't really take into account, they say, oh, manifestation, you know, I don't believe in that. First, you have to believe it, how everything is created. You have to see it, you have to believe it in order for them to, hey, you're working on it in order to achieve it. You know, I was reading a book on the airplane from Brazil when I came a couple of days ago, from Brazil to Medellin, the book on the power of the subconscious mind. I don't know if you read it. And it talks about how there are people out there, whatever problem they're looking for, you know, scientists, whatever problem they need for whatever machine, they'll go to sleep thinking about how can I solve it, you know, and they'll come up with the answer, and it has happened repeatedly, you know. So the power of the subconscious mind, which I recommend for everybody, is kind of like manifestation, but yet you have to draw the picture before it becomes reality. Because if you have, just like the Bible, I don't know if you know, religion you are, but the Bible, even the Bible says, a man without vision will perish. So everybody needs to have a vision of whatever they want to do, whether it's their wife, what type of wife they want, what type of characteristics they're looking for, you know. You need a vision in order for you to draw yourself to that item, to that goal that you have.
All right, because I know we're wrapping up. I want to share very briefly. I think for me, the most powerful realization that I had as a young man coming up. But when I had goals, I used to say, I want these things. I want these things. I want these things. And boy, it was a long way to accomplish them. It just never really seemed to get off the ground occasionally. And then I started saying, like, I have these things. I started kind of envisioning, like, okay, so I have the Mercedes. And I could feel that start to speed up. So I went from I want to I have. And then I found I am. And damn if that didn't take it to the next level. It's like, I am worthy. I am in my car. I am. And so if you go to my house, you'll see all my I am statements. It's so powerful. It's completely in alignment with what he's saying in manifestation. It's the first words, if you read the Bible, that God said to Moses on Mount Sinai, I am that I am. When Moses asked, who should I say who spoke? And it's a really powerful thing. So I always say my life journey went from I want, I have, to I am.
And that's crazy that you say that. I want to share something with your listeners. In 2016, now I saw this picture of a Bentley Supersport online. It was black on black. And I posted up on Instagram. And I wrote, dreams come reality, dreams come true. One day this will be mine. I put hashtag, I'll get it, whatever. 2019, I bought the same car, which was a Bentley Supersport, 1 out of 715, okay? And I'm like, yeah, I got it. I have forgotten about the post. And you know how you get those reminders, hey, you posted this, 4 years ago. I remember I saw the car, and it was the same. It was crazy, the same exact car, which is very specific, like the regular Bentley Continental, the Supersport, you have the carbon fiber exhaust, carbon fiber front, center console. And it was crazy that it was the same freaking car that, and it happens. Obviously, you got to manifest it and work for it. But if it's imprinted in your subconscious, somehow you'll get it, which is crazy, to actually experience something like that. Same thing with like a Rolex, or same thing with your dream house. Right now you bought a $6 million house, and you have to have that imagination. I'm gonna live here. This is the exact house. This is how I want it. You find it, opportunity comes in, and you get it. But you have to have it in your mind first.
It's technically 6 billion pesos.
6 billion pesos.
That's why I just tell people I just bought a 6 billion something house. So it's cool, man, dude. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have enjoyed the time. I know.
No, appreciate the hospitality, man. Yeah, I appreciate the hospitality, Scott, man. Thank you so much for being on, man. Legend right here.
Real estate, sales, marketing. Full Circle Conversations with Andres Olaya.